myself again. But it's the only...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It's Monday night, so it's ladies' night, and I'm joined by Samantha, Kendall, and Sav. Good evening, ladies.
Hi.
And we are sponsored now by newworkwear.com, and I don't know whether I can get into that.
Has it worked?
Oh no, I can't get into it.
Sam can get in that one.
Can you get in that little one, Sam?
Yeah.
Yay! That's it. Newworkwear.com, a specialist in the supply and branding of clothing to the workplace. Big thank you to them for sponsoring us, and a big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk because they've been with us from the start and they help us with all the snazzy t-shirts and stuff which you can get from newcastlelegends.com. That's the sponsors out the way. Girls, it's a positive show tonight because Steve Bruce got his tactics right. And I think we're probably all agreed, Samantha, that we deserve to beat Everton, and we're in 10th place. We're 2 points off second. We're in the quarterfinals of the cup. Things are a bit happier on Tyneside.
Yeah, I think so. All you want's a good performance. All you want's the team to really, show a bit of grit and determination, and we don't often see that, and I don't always think it's their fault. And I think in the first half, I was a bit nervous because it was very obvious that Everton were missing a lot of players. They were playing people out of position. Their back four looked so nervous. And within the first 10 minutes, I was thinking there's a real opportunity here, but we were kind of struggling to get into the game and really get at them. And second half was just a really strong, solid performance. What a difference it makes to have a goal scorer in your team that's making space and making runs that other players can actually look for. So a great 3 points. I said last week I thought we would get hammered. I didn't realise the extent to the injuries that they would have. And it was a bit hairy in the last couple of minutes, but I would take that every week because I was just really, really proud of the way that they played, and kudos to Steve Bruce. He's kind of reverted to a familiarity for the team, and they looked so much more comfortable. So yeah, really, really happy with it.
Yeah, no, Katie's having a night off tonight, and I'll tell you where she is. She's getting her hair done because lockdown's coming, and she's not going to get a chance to do it again. So she asked for a night off. So I had to run it past the girls, and they said it was fine because they understood. It's pointless asking me anything about hair. Kendall, what did you make of the game?
Yeah, the second half was the best half of football we've played all season, I think, personally, which is... I'm surprised I'm even saying it. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were all saying we were only going to get 1 or 2 points from the next 5 fixtures. I'll take 4 all day long, 4 points out from the last 2 games. Like, teams that I never, ever thought what we'd beat. I mean, Almiron had a great game. Again, I really can't find a negative about him, to be honest, when he plays. So it's surprising that he's been left out for so long. Longstaff had a brilliant game. I'm so glad to see him, back to positive games again, because he hasn't had a lot of game time since his injury, and especially under Bruce. Obviously, Callum Wilson, again, brilliant game. This sort of 3 at the back, 2 wing backs things kind of working, funnily enough, which I can't believe I'm actually saying that, considering last week none of us had a single clue what was going on with the formation whatsoever. So yeah, it seems to be working at the moment. I mean, it doesn't come exclusive of wanting Steve out of the club. Steve Bruce, I should say, not you, Steve. Steve Bruce out of the club. And, giving him credit where credit's due. And yesterday the tactics worked against Wolves, works against Everton. So can't really moan, considering we didn't think we'd get any points out of those 2 games.
He's not very happy with your comments, Kendall. He's not very happy with your comments. Yep. Sav, happy?
Yeah, I was happy because I was like Kendall. I thought we weren't going to win. And, I was thinking this is going to be depressing. Same old football. And to be fair, the first half was, but then Everton weren't playing very well either, and that was obvious. And I just thought if we actually just had a go at them, we could actually take something from it. Like Lewis, he had a particularly bad first half, but then I think he picked up in the second. I think a lot of people did in the second half, and Everton, they got desperate at the end, like, throwing the keeper out to try and get an equaliser, like it was a cup final or something. I thought that was embarrassing. But overall, I think we're not world class at the moment. I don't think you can say that, but I thought that yesterday we looked like a better side than we have for a long time. There was none of that boring football, well, apart from the first half. The second half, none of that boring type football that we have been playing up till now.
Yeah, definitely the picture of yesterday for me has to be this one. And that was just as Callum Wilson stroked the penalty into the back of the net. Jordan Little Arms Pickford went absolutely mental on the bench, and he did utter an expletive. Nicely captured that by somebody on Twitter last night. So, very happy with that. Good 3 points. As I say, I tweeted immediately to say well done to Steve Bruce. It's all right criticising somebody when they're doing badly. You've got to be able to, put a bit of praise their way when they've done well. And to be honest, that was well played by Steve Bruce yesterday, well played by the players. Let's hope we can build on that and take that into the Friday night game at Southampton. Right, Samantha, let's talk about strips. There's a lot of questions coming in, and I will try and get to them. Actually, I tell you what we'll do. We'll take Michael Hurt's question first, then we'll go to the strips, because he still wants to ask about the game yesterday. Do you think Newcastle played better without Shelvey? What is your opinion? Well, my opinion is yes. I wouldn't have Shelvey anywhere near the first team. Rafa didn't want him in there for obvious reasons. The guy is, you get one good game out of 10. His disciplinary record wasn't great under Rafa either, which, he could be a bit of a liability. But for me, keep him on the bench, bring him on as an impact player. But for me, I wouldn't start him. I think we need to start looking at building a centre midfield partnership. And that's what Steve Bruce is clearly doing. He left Hendrick in again yesterday, except he put Longstaff in ahead of Hayden. And I thought that worked well. So for me, I think it's either between Hayden and Hendrick or Longstaff and Hendrick. I'd leave Hendrick in. Steve Bruce brought him in. I think he's an experienced Premier League player. I think he gives us something a bit different. His work rate, again, was superb yesterday. He does a lot of the dirty work that Hayden ends up doing when he's playing, which goes unnoticed. So he's not going to be a player that knocks down any houses, Hendrick, but I'd leave him in and find somebody to play alongside him. And I personally felt Longstaff did a good enough job to stay in the team at the weekend. What did you think, Samantha?
I think anyone that has watched this show or follows my Twitter is well aware of my thoughts on John Joe Shelvey. I'm not a fan. I don't think he offers enough to us in midfield. I think he's a luxury player that we can't afford to carry. And I will say it to anybody when I'm arguing with them. Rafa wanted to sell him. He doesn't bring enough to that midfield. So for me, he wouldn't start another game for us. I thought Longstaff was superb yesterday, and I think he has a similar, I'm not going to say he's there yet because he's young. He has a similar passing range to Shelvey, except he works harder. He's got more legs. And Hendrick, he's not a glitz and glamour signing. They're still looking for the ball from the shot he took. But what you get from him is hard work. My star in midfield at the minute is Almiron. And I said it last year when we were struggling to get the mix in midfield that he could be kind of a very deep 10 because he does so much tracking back and he tackles more than a lot of other players in our team. His work rate's phenomenal. And I think in a midfield with a Hayden or a Hendricks and a Longstaff is going to do really well for us if we continue to play this formation, because when we kicked into gear in the second half yesterday, a lot of that was due to the fact that Jamal Lewis felt comfortable knowing that he was going to be covered by Almiron if he was able to get a bit further forward. We just need to keep finding that balance. The same with Jacob Murphy on the other side. He has that comfort, and I also thought he was defensively superb yesterday. So I think our team looked the most balanced yesterday that I have seen it in a very, very long time. And for me, as I said, Shelvey, he plays too deep. And I would rather someone like Schär or Fernandez steps up to play those kind of balls than Shelvey inviting pressure by dropping back to do it.
Yeah, okay. Kendall, your views on Shelvey. Would you have him in your team? And what did you think of the midfield partnership yesterday?
Yeah, I said yesterday, I tweeted after the game that if Longstaff keeps up what he's doing right now, then I really don't find Shelby has a place in the team for us. In my opinion, I mean, I know a lot of fans are like dead set against, you know, negativity about John Joe because he passes the ball, but like it hasn't worked. We've seen him when he plays, like the long ball up to Wilson doesn't work. Whereas with Sean yesterday, he was driving it forward rather than pulling back and then, you know, having a long ball. He was driving it forward and he was getting closer to the box. So that obviously, like Wilson, for example, had a shot. Whereas Shelby, as Sam said, he drops back and then intends to play the ball forward. So I really don't. If we're going to play the formation that we did yesterday and last week, and we're going to keep this sort of system, which is suiting us right now, I really don't find Shelby an asset to the team whatsoever. I mean, definitely, I think it's between Hayden and Hendrick for me in the other position in midfield at the moment, because they have a more defensive aspect to Sean Longstaff, whereas Sean Longstaff can sort of push the ball forward and Hayden can drop back and sort of be DM. But yeah, it's going well at the moment. For me, Hendrick, I'm still on the fence with Hendrick. I don't think he's done a bad job by any means. I just don't know what he brings, like as opposed to Hayden, for example. I don't know what he improves to get Hayden's game on. So I'm ready to see. I don't have any negative to say about him. As you said, Steve, he's not going to be like a world beater, for example, but he's solid enough and you can't really complain at the job that he's done.
Okay, Sav, your take on the midfield conundrum and whether you think that Shelby should be a first team regular when he gets back.
No, I don't think, you know, looking at yesterday, we actually missed having him there with his long balls and sort of playing deep. And I'm just about to sell him on FIFA over this because, you know, we play actually quite well without him. So, no, I would definitely have, like Kendall said, I'm undecided on Hendrick at the moment. I did read something when he first came to us, and they said he's not going to be world class, but he will always put in a shift. And I do believe that about him. But I'm just at the moment, I'm not quite sure what he offers. He cuts the ball out in the middle. But then yesterday when I was watching, he just then passes it back to Lascelles. And then it's sort of that, you know, that was going on a lot yesterday. I'd probably have, you know, Sean Longstaff, I actually think did really well yesterday, just hoping that it's going to be consistent now. And Hayden or Hendrick, but as I say, I'm still on the fence with him quite a bit because I just don't think I've seen enough yet. I mean, that first game he played for us was really good. And then he just seems to have faded into the background. You know, he is putting in a shift, but he's just sort of, you know, he's not standing out. But then I suppose not everyone does, do they? But he, you know, I'm undecided.
Yeah, and no Joe Linton yesterday, so that finally knocks he has to play in every game rumours on the head. But it did seem for a long time that he had to play. So
I'm still sure of it. It's only been one game. So
yeah, true.
Get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. Okay. The only time to ever discuss fashion on NUFC matters is when the ladies are on, and the new strips have been shown. I got that from Spenny, so it's quite a small one. I'm sure you've seen them on Twitter anyway. But obviously the rumored Castore link up is obviously gaining momentum. I still don't think it's a fantastic strip. Samantha, what's your take on that?
I only had a brief look at it earlier on Twitter. You know, it's okay. I don't know the sponsor. I was a little bit surprised. I wasn't impressed with the links with Rangers. There's been some comments about the quality. And for me, the quality of the shirt's as important as what it looks like. So I don't know, it looks fine. Again, you're kind of hoping that anything that we're agreeing to at the minute is short term before, you know, someone comes in, hopefully, and takes the club off Ashley's hands and gets a good deal that represents good value for the club. So it looks fine. I'm not blown away. But to be honest, what can you do with our home strip? I'm always looking for the away strips to see what they do. So that's okay, but they've still got an opportunity for a good strip. I worry that it's going to be gold, though, and I really hope it isn't.
Kendall, your take on the strips, please.
The gold reminds me of when we had Northern Rock, and they had a bit of a gold thing going on one year. I don't know when that was, but yeah, as Sam said, I mean, I'm not familiar with the kit maker or the whatever at all. I really haven't heard of them. I haven't even delved into research. It just annoys me that the badge is in a V shape and they're called Castor. I've just noticed that there.
Yeah, did you see? It's good, isn't it? We're getting some great comments tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, people say like, what can you do with black and white stripes? And it's fair enough, but if you look at Juve, they've had millions of different styles of kits in there are in black and white as well. So I just wish there'd be a bit more creativity. Like, I mean, just do something different. I wouldn't even mind if they came out and did something a little bit different with black and white stripes. I would actually appreciate them for it. But the quality, it's going downhill in the recent years anyway, so it doesn't want to go any more downhill. Like compared to like that shirt I wear on this show sometimes is so thick, like from the 90s, so thick and such good quality. And like the shirts now, I know they're different material and they're meant to be muscle fit and stuff now, but I mean the quality's not as good even as it is now. So comments on the quality are like very negative for me. I just don't really want to be hearing that, especially when obviously they're going to have to make a big impact on being a new kit designer. So yeah, I guess we've just got to wait and see, like pretty much everything with Newcastle United. Just got to wait and see what happens.
Sav, you like to buy a strip or two. What's your take on those leaked photos?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit meh, isn't it, really? It's sort of same old as what we get every time. And I hadn't heard of that sponsor either when it was announced. You know, I was kind of hoping we'd get Nike or Adidas. I know we can't spoil ourselves too much. It was, for me, it was a little bit disappointing. And, you know, as I say, with that strip, it's a bit, you know, same old as what we have all the time. It's not very exciting. I'd say I wouldn't buy it, but then I don't know if I'm going to get drunk and do it anyway. So, you know, it's just same as what we normally get treated to, isn't it, really?
Yeah, no, it is. It is definitely. I mean, I haven't bought a strip under Ashley. I've got to be perfectly honest. I've never liked the strips that have been released under Ashley's regime, and I tended to buy retro strips or get retro strips, and you know, they're a lot. You know, they're a lot nicer. I've got to be perfectly honest. But the new material and stuff like that, it always looks chatty. And some of the logos, I would never have worn that Payday Lender on my chest. So it's one of those things. I always thought I would always buy the shirts, but you know, unfortunately, with Mike Ashley at the club, I don't think we've had the best quality. So hopefully, Takeover goes through. We end up with something a bit more positive. Season tickets is the next thing I want to talk about, Samantha, and that's the fact that the club, after our show last week, finally communicated with the supporters about potential refunds. I'm not sure how much success people have actually had, by the way, because individuals had to email the club box office and basically ask for their money back. But yeah, I mean, was it too little, too late? Should they have acted a bit quicker, do you think?
They should definitely have acted a lot quicker. I don't think it's too little, too late. But I can't see a reason why they took so long. I don't know why it had to get so much coverage. Why do we have to be the last people in the middle of a pandemic when there are people losing jobs and there's a furlough scheme and all of these things are happening and swimming around? And I appreciate that the club is losing money as well, but that's by the by when we're talking about people's lives. So yes, great that they've done it. What really frustrated me was some of the options that they gave, because I had a quick read through it and it wasn't as simple as, you know, you get a refund and that's it. They had several different options. And I also felt like it should be the club's responsibility to reach out to season ticket holders rather than potentially having them contact. So really, it's good that they've done something eventually, but you know, if you look at the timeline of what's happened compared to other clubs, and you know, he kicks off about the pay-per-view before he makes a decision on giving people their money back in the middle of everything that's happening, it doesn't sit very comfortably with me. But with Mike Ashley, that's all you expect.
Were you surprised to hear Mike Ashley speak out against pay-per-view?
I think we touched on this last week, and I said Mike Ashley only serves himself. So again, he did it for a reason, and you know, he wants to continue to make his point against the Premier League, and he found another forum to do it. Again, you kind of, my first thought to it was, you're the guy sitting there with a whole bunch of money. I think they said it's akin to £7 million worth of season ticket money that you haven't given back, but you're the man of the fans, telling them that they're ripping people off, charging 15 quid a match. And also, what I didn't know when he made the statement about they voted in favour of it because they wanted fans to be able to watch matches, Leicester City didn't. Leicester City were the only club, if I read it correctly, that said no to pay-per-view. So there was an option, and he could have done it, and he wasn't doing it for the fans, as with anything else, but he spins it to try and make himself out to be the good guy. It's just Mike Ashley all over.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Kendall, your take on the season tickets announcement?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on a 10-year plan, so this was meant to be our last season under the long-term price plan. So basically, what they were basically said, you can either get refunds for the first 5 matches of the 2021 season. You can just have a direct refund, or you can continue to pay the season ticket up until the end of the period, because you sort of pay 6 months in advance and end 6 months in advance, if that makes sense. You can sort of continue paying until March, and it will make sure that your season ticket for the 2021-22 season is at the same price again as it was this season.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can stop paying for your season ticket, and then in March the price is just going to go up. So it's just a bit dodgy. I mean, so we just basically decided that we were going to get a refund for the first 5 games, because my brother's not sure if he wants his season ticket next year. So there's no point putting money towards a season ticket we don't even know if we want yet. So we got a refund for the first 5 games, but we're not going to get that till mid-December, and that's phase 1. We don't even know if we're in phase 1, because you don't know how many other people have applied before you. And we've been waiting now this whole time, haven't even got refunds off last season yet.
I can't be doing with phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3. I'm struggling to deal with tiers 1, 2 and 3.
Exactly. So phase 1,
I'm going to start getting them confused.
Phase 1 of the cycle of refunds is mid-December, and you don't even know what cycle you're in, because you're not getting a direct response. You're filling an online form, and it goes to the box office, and then they have to let you know, once they've read through your email and your details, what cycle of refunds you're in and what you're entitled to. It's just a ridiculous lengthy process, especially when we've been waiting this long, especially from last season. And, you know, as Sam says, why are we always the last to do anything? We were the last to bring back workers, and we still had people on furlough last, and it's just a nightmare. Just nothing's ever simple. I don't understand. They can easily take the money out your bank, but they can't put it back in.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Sab, your take on the season ticket announcement?
Yeah, I mean, it's way too late, wasn't it? I mean, you know, unemployment this year is going to be skyrocketing with all what's going on. And weirdly, I had a lady from Radio 1 ring me last week and try and interview me to tweet positively about Mike Ashley speaking out about pay-per-view. And I've got to say, everything that I said got cut out of that interview, because it wasn't very positive, because I just wouldn't do it. I think that he came out, I mean, it had the right effect from what I saw, because, you know, people were trying to put a positive spin on him speaking out, you know, trying to make it look in the best interests of fans. But, you know, I said to her about the season tickets and things. And I think, you know, although they cut that out, then they did add in a bit about season tickets during that. So I don't know. I just think he tried to make himself look good. But when you're doing that as well, then it's all pointless. You can't just keep charging people when there's people on furlough and out of work, you know, and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, a lot of people asking where Katie is. She's getting her hair done. It's an essential part of a woman's life, getting her hair done. So obviously she's had a night off tonight before lockdown. A hairdresser is going to be shut from Wednesday, and tonight was the only time she could get an appointment. A lot of people asking about Nick DeMarco and Mirdad and why these people continue to tweet and retweet about our football club. Some people saying that they shouldn't be doing that if there's nothing going on in the background. Well, I think you've answered your own question. There is something going on in the background, and as I keep saying, and I will keep reiterating on this program, that until the takeover is completely dead in the water, then there is always that hope. And we know it's going down the legal road. We're not going to hear anything, but from our perspective, until we see Amanda, Mirdad, and Jamie come out and actually say, "Look, that's it. It's definitely finished," then there is still life in the takeover yet. So just watch this space. Let's see how things progress. Not sure if you girls saw the piece that Mick Martin, former Newcastle United midfielder, did with the Evening Chronicle today, but I did want to talk a little bit about this. So you might not have read it, but I'll read it to you so you can get an idea of what his article was about. But he was interviewed about Steve Bruce as manager at Newcastle and the start that he's had to the season. And Mick, I know him, done talk-ins with him in the past. Great guy, still lives in the area, and was at Newcastle prior to Kevin Keegan coming in as a player. But this is the quote from the Evening Chronicle interview, and he said, "Steve Bruce is doing a great job and under severe pressure too. It was a super result at the weekend against Everton side that have started the new season particularly well. They're playing well, but you always get people, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, looking for Pochettino, Mourinho or Wenger in charge because of their CV. But I honestly don't believe that any of them could have done what Steve Bruce has done with what he's had, keeping the team well away from danger for 18 months and reaching 2 cup quarter-finals. Look at the players he's had available to him. Some of them are still on the books from previous managers. Some of them are dating back 5 or 6 years. Newcastle's place in the middle of the table is in contrast with one of my former clubs, Man United, who are struggling in the bottom 5. Okay, look at where Newcastle are compared to where Manchester United are with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now. They've had 4 games at home and haven't won with the money spent and talent that they've got. You'd expect them to be not to be outside the top 4. Man United are in the bottom 5, and there are others in and around who Newcastle are doing better than. I don't think it's valid to criticise Steve Bruce with 11 points from 7 games. He should be commended. But I think a manager like Steve thrives off getting some stick from supporters because when they turn it around, they can look back with a smile on their face. I know Steve probably wouldn't do that because he's a local lad and he'd steer well clear of abusing Newcastle supporters. So there we go. Quite a long interview with Mick Martin. Pick the bones out of that, Samantha.
I feel like I'm struggling not to channel my inner Katie and start swearing. First and foremost, we've given Bruce stick. He hasn't made the best of the squad he has available, and the squad he has available is better than some, but he hasn't utilised it properly. He's made excuses. He's called out fans. There's a little bit of blame on all sides. The one thing that's really pissing me off at the minute is this comparison to other teams around us. Man City have been shit this season. Watch them at the weekend. They're really poor at the minute. They can't, there's no speed in their play. They're struggling to score, all of that. Man United have been shit as well. I don't know if Ole is going to stay. They have got a lot of players, but they also, a bit like us, somebody else is buying the players. The manager isn't getting who they want. I don't care if Man United are first or 20th. Makes no difference to me, and I don't think there's a comparison to be made. We just focus on what we can see, and what we can see is a manager that makes poor decisions and makes excuses. And, we're going to be stuck with him until the takeover happens, if and when that happens. And we don't want to be in this constant battle with him. We just want a team to play decent football, have a go, put other teams under pressure, and hopefully get some results. That's all we want. Whether it's a back 4, a back 5, you know, whatever way he wants to play it, as long as they put in a shift and he's playing the right players instead of based on reputation, then fair enough. So I'm really frustrated that people continue to come out and say that it's 16 months later, it's just because it's Steve Bruce. It was at the time. We didn't want them as a manager, but now I think we all know that we're stuck with him. So what we want to do is focus away from him and focus on the team. And we want him to bring us on that journey with him instead of, you know, turning things back. You'll always have fans that are a bit of an arsehole. You can't help it. Some of the things that I call him whenever I'm watching matches, I wouldn't say to his face. Might tweet them. That's different. But I don't want to dislike him. I want my team to do well. So all these people that come out and big him up and all these, you know, mates, Roy Keane yesterday, he's doing a great job. They must be seeing something different to us, or they're looking at a blinkered view. They think we are being blinkered. I think they are being blinkered, because I honestly think with the squad that we have, the fact that he can't coach them to play a better style of football or a different formation tells you everything that you need to know about him.
Roy Keane hasn't got a very high opinion of Newcastle. Like, I remember at the start of yesterday's programme, I remember him mentioning the results that Manchester United have had over the last few games, and he just basically said, Newcastle, well, that wasn't a big result. You should be beating them. And it was just like, oh God, you know, absolute nightmare. I'm not sure if I've told you this, but the Roy Keane story I've got's a great one. I came out of King's Cross in the old days when you could go on a train and there was people around King's Cross. But I came out of King's Cross, and I was walking towards St Pancras as Roy Keane was walking towards us, and he was Sunderland manager at the time. So as I got towards him, I went, Keano. And he went like that, you know, waved, and I went, he wanks his dog, Keano, as I walked past. And as I turned round, he gave us the finger. So, yeah, it's an absolute classic. Like, it's my favourite Roy Keane story. Kendall, over to you.
Like, the thing that gets me about Steve Bruce is, right, it's funny because it's like the people who love him in the media, he's media darlings, he's, you know, this great guy and blah, blah, blah. They have not watched us for 18 months because they can't have, because if they did, they wouldn't have the opinion that they do. They wouldn't be sitting there saying, oh, he's done great, he's done a brilliant job, blah, 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 because he's done an acceptable job. He has not improved on one thing at all since the whole time he's been there. He hasn't done anything different. We all saw him revert to Rafa's tactics last year and say, well, you know, these players have been playing like this for 3 years. I've got to go back. No, like you just can't watch that. And the thing about Mick Martin is I'm really shocked at, because when I used to work for the club in hospitality, he has a seat in hospitality like every week. So he is literally there. He is watching the stuff.
Is it next to the bar?
Not recently.
Is it next to the bar?
Yeah, he does actually. But yeah, seriously, he literally watched that from the early last season. So he's seen it himself. So I don't know where he's bringing this ridiculous narrative from, that Pochettino couldn't do a better job with that squad. I could do a bloody better job with that squad. Like he's had all of the resources available that prior managers didn't. One in particular that we're not going to mention is like bloody Voldemort now, so I'm just saying his name. But yeah, like he's had all the resources available that people didn't before, and he hasn't done much with them. So I really don't understand how people are looking at that and thinking, you know what, he's been quite lucky with the results. It's took him 18 months to have 2 good games in a formation that we're not used to. That's how long it's taken. So anyone who sits there and says, oh, he's done a better job than Pochettino, he's done a better job than Mourinho, you want to look where Mourinho and Tottenham are right now. You've pretty much got the best attack in the league. And he's been in the job like a little bit less than Steve Bruce. So I just, that whole comment, and I mean, talking about he doesn't want to say anything at the fans. He just called us bloody keyboard warriors on Saturday. So, yeah. Do you know what? He's blamed us all along. He said, he said to journalists, why can't you tell the fans what I'm trying to do, because they don't understand. He's like, oh, you're always going to get a bit of stick in this job. Yeah, you get stick when you're rubbish. Like we've all praised him for yesterday and said, you know, he's done decent. He's got decent tactics. I've not really seen a bad word about him, to be honest, apart from people just saying like, you know, don't run away with it. But you get you get discredited when you are doing badly and you're doing wrong, and that's all he's done for the past year and a half. He hasn't played lovely football, has it? It's been absolutely horrific. It's took us a year and a half to have one good half of football, which was yesterday. So I really don't understand it. It really actually gets really on my nerves that he just is the media darling, and I just don't understand it, because then again, this is where the narrative comes from, that Newcastle fans expect too much and that we're deluded, because look at what the media are doing. They're making us the blame, because they're saying that, you know, Steve Wraith is doing a good job and we can't see it.
Martin, we will come to your question next, mate. Thanks for that. And some people keep going on about Super Chat. So I've added it to the YouTube page. You know, give it a go. If you click the little S sign in the chat, it allows you to add various things. And you can make a donation if you want to, but some people asked about it last night and some people have asked about it again tonight. So I've added it on YouTube. So if you click in the chat, there's a little dollar sign there. Click on that and do what you want to your heart's content. I think what we might do with that is, if it's any good and people enjoy it, we might do something for the food bank with it next week, and we'll donate the money to the food bank, which would be good. Speaking of the food bank, you've got 20 minutes to get onto my Twitter at Steve Wraith. The bid for the latest t-shirt, NUFC Matters 3 Amigos t-shirt, is up to £75. So there it is, 3 Amigos t-shirt. It's a one-off. It also comes with a ticket for the Christmas do. A lot of people asking about that. Obviously, with COVID, it'll be on hold. It might end up being a New Year's celebration do, but I'll keep you updated as soon as we know what the hell Boris is doing on the very first day of December. We'll obviously plan accordingly. But at the moment, the 4th of December is still on. If you've got to make travel arrangements, obviously I would be careful, because from your perspective, things could change again. But if we don't come out of lockdown, we'll just rearrange it for when we're out of lockdown. We'll give everybody enough notice and hopefully everybody be able to come. But it is a sellout, the Christmas do. And as I say, that t-shirt is up to £75. Go to at Steve Wraith. It's a pinned tweet. If you want to buy it, place a bid. And I will announce it at the end of the show. John from Q-Tech will keep an eye on that for me and let us know before the end of the show. I do also want to give this a shout out tonight, and bear with us, because one bit of it's on my phone and the other bit is on the StreamYard app. This is a player padlock pad, unlocking players' potential. And it's by Natalie Henderson, Newcastle United's Academy Lead Phase YOP coach. She basically is going to give one of these away. So I'm going to give this away on the 3 Amigos on Friday. We're going to give one copy away. But have a look at padlockpad.com. Have a look at it. Well worth a look. It's a coaching and motivational journal for young players. Natalie coaches at the Newcastle United Academy. So have a look at it. Get yourself on the website, and we'll give that away on the 3 Amigos show on Friday. Sav, over to you on Mick Martin's views on Steve Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, it's laughable, isn't it? When you have to, I don't know, as Sam said, being blinkered, when you have to watch that week in, week out, that same boring style of play, and, occasionally he will grab a lucky win, just by chance. I don't think, and he does criticise fans, he says it all the time. He always has that little backstab. If fans were in the stadium right now, I'd dread to think, because he does take a swipe, and I don't know if he's taking a swipe because the fans aren't in the stadiums. You like to try and think that you try and get fans on side, but you have to watch that every week, and he's done an okay job. I don't think you can stand there and say he's done a bad job, because we haven't been relegated, but we've just sort of stayed in the same sort of position. He's not made us any better, and as Kendall said, it's taken him a year and a half to do one exciting half of football, and that's an awful long time considering the player selection that we have, because I don't actually think we have bad players. They've just been badly set up. Sometimes they've come out looking unmotivated, And he has this very defeatist attitude when he's in his press conferences. He's always sort of, oh, you know, the other side, they're a great team, and he probably bigs them up, and he's like, we're going to have to work really hard. And if you come in with that, you watch back to, say, Kevin Keegan's press conferences and things, it's a complete contrast. He's just very, you know, I think that's what gets me the most when you sit and listen to him, is that it's the same thing every press conference. I know on Twitter there's always now, like, you know, take one shot if he says this, take another shot if he says that, and it is just predictable. And, you know, for someone to sit there and say, oh, he's done a great job with Newcastle, he hasn't. He's done an acceptable job, which, considering what he's being paid, he should be doing better than that. So, you know, it's just a joke, really.
Like,
No, it is.
we are not a stepping stone. We are Newcastle United. Then Steve Wraith is like, oh, well, you know, Southampton's a really, really good side, and we hope that we can try and beat them, but they're going to be really tough to break down.
Hopefully.
With hindsight.
Don't forget, girls, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, a work in progress. Something that is a work in progress. After Martin Nesbitt, who's a regular contributor to the Worldwide Show, spoke about mental health last week, and with us now going into another lockdown on Thursday in the UK, of course, Samantha, based in Ireland, has already been on this kind of lockdown for the last couple of weeks. But obviously, everyone in England's going into it, and what we've decided to do on NUFC Matters is to launch a little campaign, which we're going to launch on Thursday. I'm going to go through my little black book and speak to a few of the players, but we're going to launch Phone a Friend on Thursday, and the idea being that obviously you know, some people are living alone, some people are, you know, basically stuck when we go into lockdown for the next 4 weeks or however long we're going to be in. So we're just going to start off a free initiative with NUFC Matters, Phone a Friend. We're going to start on Thursday, get a little bit of momentum behind it, and hopefully get people to just pick up the phone and phone somebody who they haven't spoken to for a long time, and essentially just, you know, make sure they're okay. So that's something we're going to do. Keep an eye on our socials, keep an eye on the girls' socials as well, because we'll all be tweeting it and retweeting it. We're going to knock up a flyer for it, but something simple, something everybody can do. Pick up a phone, pick up your house phone, pick up a mobile. Don't drop them a text. That's a modern way of communicating now. We just want people to pick up the phone and just ring somebody who you haven't spoken to for a while, somebody who might need it. But that's what we're going to do from Thursday. I've already spoken to a few of the players today, ex-players who I know, a few celebrities that I know, and they've all said it's a great idea and they're willing to help us. So yeah, that'll start on Thursday. We're going to have a nice little video to launch as well, so I'm sure you'll get behind it as well, girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's go to Martin's question, which was Jack Wilshere. Would you take him? You know, we are crying out for a creative player. We've already established tonight that none of us would play Shelby. You know, creativity is something we are lacking in the middle. We've got Almiron, we've got St Maximin, neither of those players would really suit it in the centre of midfield. Would you take a Jack Wilshere, Samantha?
I think we talked about this when he was first let go by West Ham. I don't think that I would, and the reason being, well, aside from his injury record, yes, we need creativity in the centre, but when we have that type of player that's not, you know, putting in all the effort everywhere else on the pitch, which I don't think he can do as much anymore because of his injuries, we can't afford to carry anyone. So actually, I think with the Hendricks, the Haydens, and the two Longstaffs, with Shelby maybe on the bench, and Almiron coming in to kind of fill that gap, I'm happier with that. I think Bruce is going to be so careful with the way that he sets us up now, because he needs to keep that balance. To the point where I'm not sure what he's going to do with St Maximin, because he is not a second striker, but he can't play him wide in that formation because it puts the balance out. So if Jack Wilshere had the legs that he had when he was at Arsenal, I would absolutely take him. Would I take Jack Wilshere now? No, but then I don't know what his fitness is at the minute. But I just think it will be carrying another player, and we don't need to. I would also worry that it would stifle the opportunity for Matty Longstaff coming through as well, because if we're not going to send him out on loan, he needs an opportunity to get into the first team. So therefore we need to keep some kind of spot open for him.
Yep. Okay. Jack Wilshere, does he float your boat, Kendall?
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't call him a bad player, as Sam says. We haven't really seen much of him in the past, I would say maybe 2-3 years now. We haven't seen what he's like anymore. He's been injured a lot. And right now, we are midfield is where we need to choose a partnership because we're missing that link-up player. So there's no point bringing in another midfielder who isn't going to fit into the squad because, as Sam says, we've already got a lot of people in those positions for different reasons, and there's just really probably no point in bringing in Wilshere for that, because even if he's a squad player, it's just another midfielder like Matty's just sitting on the bench. So there's not really any point in just another midfielder sitting on the bench for absolutely no reason to pay his wages. There's just zero point in it for me. Not that I'm saying Jack Wilshere's bad. I mean, prime Jack Wilshere would have taken a heartbeat. But as we say, we don't really know what he's like now, so I think it's just too much of a pointless sort of risk to take.
Yeah. Okay. Sav, your views on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked this last night and I said that I would, but then today I sat and I did a little bit of research, and, you know, his injury record is really bad. And like, as Kendall said, we haven't seen an awful lot of him for a long time. And I just think that's a risk too far to take, and another wage, you know, going out. And like as Sam said, with Matty Longstaff, it sort of would completely block the way for him to come back into the first team. I think that you know, that needs to happen at some point. But no, I wouldn't at the moment. I think that we sort of seem to be trying things out in midfield to see what works. And I think if you add someone else to that, it's just going to confuse things. I think we need to concentrate on the players that we have in that area and sort of focus on what's going to work there best.
Okay. A lot of people asking about Sedwin Scott, who Newcastle have given a trial to. He was at Dunstan not so long ago, but at Hebburn Town he has done quite well. He's managed to score 20 goals in the last 9 games in all competitions in the EBAC Northern League. When he was at Dunstan, I would say he was hit and miss. It's difficult sometimes to get settled into a team. The guy's definitely got a bit of an eye for goal though. Quite a quiet lad. That's not a bad thing. But do I think he will do well at Newcastle United? I'm not so sure, but never say never. Is he the next Jamie Vardy? I'm not 100% sure, but hey, good luck to him. It's a big opportunity for him. Good luck to him in the next 4 weeks. I do like to wish people happy birthday as well. Ex-players, Neil MacDonald. And he is Newcastle United's player that scored the goal at Wembley in 1988 in the Mercantile Credit Classic game against Liverpool. It was a penalty, but we beat Liverpool 1-0 at Wembley, and I was there to see it. So yeah, then we played Burnley in the next game and got beat 2-0. So typical Newcastle, have a high and then have a massive low. Let's look ahead to the game on the weekend on Friday night football we've got now. And John Allen's just said £80 for the shirt from Diane Byrne. So thank you very much. Yes, Southampton now. I think before going into the Everton game, I was looking at this Southampton game, absolutely, petrified, thinking, oh my God, we're going to get absolutely hammered here. But I'm looking at this now and thinking, well, actually, if we can carry the same kind of tactical nous and formation and keep it right and don't make too many changes and be sensible, we could get something out of this game. I'm starting to think a bit more positive again. So what's your views on the game coming up with the weekend, Samantha? What would you like to see? And Danny Ings is out, by the way, so that's positive for us.
I think I'd just like to see that second half performance again. I don't want to see us drop deep. I want everyone to be clued in, responsible, pass forward. I've shouted a lot at the TV in the first half on Sunday about passing back, take a bit of responsibility. And that comes from encouragement from the coaching team that they can actually they can play a game of football at this level. They can take a few chances, a few risks, try and get the ball moving forward. I think Kendall mentioned it before, that drive that Longstaff gives us in the centre. We need to have that. It would be nice to have Matty on the bench as well, because he can give something similar. The fact that Danny Ings is out, you know, fingers and toes crossed that is actually the case. Although at the weekend I thought our defence was good. I think they did their jobs well. I thought Fernandez was absolutely fantastic at the back. So there's no reason not to feel confident of at least a point. We just need to be responsible, and he has to, as I said, take that second half performance and tell the players that we want to start a match like that. We can't always grow into a game. Sometimes we just need to start with that in mind from kickoff. I'm also delighted it's not a Sunday match, because I'm getting really fed up with these weird times of the weekend. But there's an opportunity. I think Southampton have done fantastically. I think their manager has been fantastic, and the fact that they stuck with him, so it'll be tough. I can't stand Ward-Prowse. I think it's a hateful little git, but I do think there's an opportunity there. It just, as I said, it depends on what Steve Wraith tells them to do from the start. We always run the risk that he's going to say, we're away from home, sit back.
Yeah, it's for me, I just feel, you know, you never get the same game twice, Kendall, with Steve Bruce, and you know, you have ups and downs. It is a roller coaster ride with him. But what's your views and looking ahead to that game on Friday?
Yeah, 100%. I hope he doesn't just do classic Steve Bruce and then think, oh, they scored 3 last weekend, so we better sit back and play defensively and go back to full. I literally really hope that doesn't happen, because, you know, classic, as you say, Steve Bruce, up and down. I really hope he doesn't do that, because obviously we're riding on sort of people missing from games at the moment. Everton have missed a lot of players. Southampton have got Danny Ings missing, who is an absolute threat at goal. I really, really wish we'd signed him a few years back. I really, really do. I think we'd be in a totally different position than we are now. But yeah, a couple of players to look out for really from Southampton. I know Sam just said she doesn't like him, but James Ward-Prowse is unbelievable on free kicks, as we saw yesterday, scored 2. And also Vestergaard, one of their defenders, is brilliant. So I just hope that we, you know, can take the game by its horns like we did second half of the Everton game, and just start like that. That's all I want them to do. If they start off the blocks like that, then we've got a chance. And I wouldn't have said this a few weeks ago, because Southampton have really, really kicked on. And, you know, as Sam says, their manager's doing a fantastic job at the moment. So, yeah, hope we just start attacking. I hope it just doesn't do classic Steve Bruce and start back 4 again and, you know, sit deep and go defensive, because we've really, we're going to struggle again. So, fingers crossed for a good game of football, and hopefully it's 2 halves of good football this time, not just 1.
Leicester 2-0 up against Leeds. Vardy getting his obvious goal. He seems to score virtually in every game these days now under Brendan Rodgers.
I've left him on my FPL bench. I just can't deal with this FPL.
What a nightmare.
I do something wrong every week. It's driving me insane. I've said I'm not going to look now till January. I'm just not going to look at it until I get my wild card back.
Sav, looking ahead to the game at the weekend against Southampton, anything you would change?
No, I think I'd probably keep, you know, roughly the same setup. I don't know about St Max, whether I'd play him in that position. That was something that, although when I looked at the stats, he had the most completed passes yesterday, which was interesting, because watching it, it looked really frustrating. And obviously he took that knock, and then he seemed to struggle after that before he came off. So that quite surprised me. But I'd probably stick to more or less the same. But you know, like you say, no game is the same as the next one. And I just hope that we don't just revert back to Bruce Ball, go out there, sit back, you know, and just have that same boring style of play. If we go out there and play like we did in the second half yesterday, I think, you know, we've got a chance there. But, you know, Bruce looks up to Southampton. We know this. He wants us to be, you know, as good a quality side as Southampton, as he said. So it's difficult to say. It's so unpredictable.
A lot of people saying, Samantha, that Fraser should be in ahead of ASM, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, Fraser links up well, obviously, with Wilson. ASM's looked a bit jaded. Whether he's carrying a slight injury, I'm not sure. He didn't look himself yesterday. He was substituted again. Fraser's chomping at the bit to play. He's been playing well with Scotland. But that link-up's key, I personally feel, with Wilson. And Wilson gets the service. Wilson scores.
Yeah, 100%. And we saw it with our second goal. He just brings a different energy to the team. And ASM's looked lethargic. I don't think that's the best position for him, regardless of whether he wants to play there or not. It's almost like, and I'm sure it's not the case, but since he got his contract, he hasn't put a shift in, really. And I do think he is that maverick player. And when it's on, he will be on fire. He will change a game. But when it's not, you find yourself getting really frustrated with him not looking for a teammate, not trying to bring more people into play. And, Sav, as she said, when she looked at the stats, they're not that bad. But when you're watching the game, you're really frustrated that he's not bringing more. And that's probably because of what we expect from him. We bought a package deal in Fraser and Wilson, and we knew exactly what we were doing. They were kind of waiting to see if each other was going to sign before everything got, the final I's dotted and T's crossed. So we have to play them. I don't understand why he hasn't been playing them, but every time I've seen Ryan Fraser play for us, and it's been little bits here and there in the cup, he's just looked so good. He's so fast, he's so direct, and he has that Premier League experience behind him. So I wouldn't be against putting ASM on the bench at the weekend. And I also think it would give him a little bit of a kick as well, that he isn't always going to be a starter and he does need to work for it. And if he needs a rest, fair enough, that's an opportunity. But I think too many players in our squad have been comfortable that their place is guaranteed. And hopefully now, with people coming back from injury and having a few more options, that will start to change. And those game changers that we rely on will, when called upon, really put in those performances that we need to pick up points.
Just a quick one on Barry Hogan's point there before I come to you, Kendall. Samantha, the point there. Not sure I should say this, but not greatly impressed that Wilson deliberately worked it to get the penalty. It's fine doing it, but don't brag about it. What do you think?
Maybe it's just his personality, but there might not have been too much contact, but there was contact and he knew what he was doing, and it was something that they worked on in training. There was a couple of penalty decisions over the weekend that were not great. And when you look at the Man United penalty against us, people get frustrated. So it swings and roundabouts. I don't think he was bragging as such. He maybe just talked a little bit too much. But at the end of the day, I mean, that guy could do anything with that smile, so it helped out.
I love it. Kendall, your take on the Ryan Fraser, the rising Ryan Fraser call by people that he should be in ahead of ASM, and yeah, talk about Wilson's comments as well about the penalty.
I can't believe we're now at a point, this is just how Newcastle United is. We're now at a point where we're saying drop St. Maximin. I cannot believe we're at this point now, because the start of the season we were like, oh my god, we were St. Maximin away from relegation. Like literally, like that was the opinion, and I can't believe we're now at a point where we're saying it. But I completely agree. Fraser looked amazing when he came on yesterday. Every time him and Wilson link up, as Wilson said, Fraser and Wilson equals goals. It clearly does. The link-up works. It's already solidified and has been for several seasons in the Premier League. So for me, it is vital that he starts. And as Sam says, it would just, maybe knock St. Maximin down a peg or two. I mean, and he's not arrogant at all, but I think he knows that Steve Bruce relies on him for creativity. He knows that he's a fan favourite. And it probably does make you a little bit complacent in that sense, because you sort of just guessing that you're going to play every week. And so I think he could really do with it. He looks like he's picked up a leg injury of some form. A couple of people have said hips, and he does look like that. So yeah, I think it's time, if things aren't going well and Fraser and Wilson doesn't link up the way we wanted to, there's no harm in sticking him on from 60 minutes onwards and trying to do something in the last 30 minutes. Just don't leave it till, if it is going that way, don't leave it till the 80th minute for him to do something, because it's just not good enough. And I really don't think that central role suits him a lot. I think that central role allows him to be lazy. And it relies on positioning and pace, both of which aren't his fortes. Creativity is his forte. So for me, in that formation, it's kind of funny because I don't really think he is like good enough to have that central role. I think he needs to be on the wing. He needs a definitive role where he can direct the ball inwards. So yeah, I think it's time to drop him. As for Wilson, I mean, if you watch any sort of football, you know that if you get touched in the box, you go down. That's just the way it is. That is the mentality of football, and that's just how it is, because most of the time, before VAR, you would get a penalty. Most of the time. So yeah, as Sam said, I don't think he was bragging at all. He's not that sort of person to brag. I think he was just explaining it because people were calling him soft and saying, he shouldn't have gone down for that and whatever. So I think he was just explaining it because he can't do any wrong in my eyes, as people know. So even if he was bragging, I'd be like, yeah, go on, son. But yeah, it's fine. It's what footballers do. You're fair enough. You get annoyed when people do it against you, but deep down, that's just what footballers are going to do, unfortunately.
There you go, girls. That's for you.
Perfection.
Sav, your take on Ryan Fraser for ASM at the weekend, and Wilson admitting that he went down for the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I think that going on the last match, ASM does not sit well in that central role at all. And I think when Ryan Fraser came on, it made a real difference. Him, Wilson, they've played together for a long time. So, it would probably make sense to put them on instead. The only thing that slightly worries me about dropping ASM to the bench is that, not at Newcastle, but the history of his attitude at his past club. Where he was, not turning up for training and things. Well, I think he has learned from that. I honestly do, but it's just that little bit of history. I don't think that's not an excuse not to drop him to the bench. I think maybe he needs a rest. He doesn't look comfortable when you watch him, and he was acting like he was made of glass yesterday. Whenever he was hit, he was really struggling. So yeah, I would definitely drop him to the bench and start Fraser if he's fit enough. And the Wilson thing, you know what, even if he was bragging, if the ref says it's a penalty, and that's just what it is at the end of the day. If he didn't look like he was, particularly happy with him anyway, so I think I'd have gone over and had a bit of a brag too, to be fair. So it's just is what it is. If they say it's a penalty, it's a penalty, and you can't argue it. I mean, everyone will because it's Newcastle, but that's just how it is.
I've got to say, Sav, I just realised you've got my favourite Newcastle strip on as well. Fantastic. Yeah, The Entertainers. That's a classic. The has, I'm sure you saw it. I saw you laugh when it came up. Are you perfecting the Barat impersonation to do online at any time? Or?
Not quite at the moment. I'm not ready for it. I hate you for bringing that up because I did it last week before we came on.
Well, you see, I didn't mention it last week, and I bet you thought I was going to, and I thought, well, I'll give you a week. And but then someone mentions it in the chat. I don't ignore people in the chat, so maybe give it another week.
I will do it soon. Maybe I'll do it soon.
I think what we should do is, I tell you what we'll do is next Monday, once people have got the hang of this super chat thing where they can donate, what we'll do is if they donate a certain amount to the food bank, you can do it, and then at least we can hand that money over. I think that's the best way to do it.
I'll do a proper long version of it as well, not the short version that I gave you last week.
Okay, that's good. Well, big thank you again to Q Tech Shop. Big thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, and of course, big thanks to our main sponsor for this month, who is sponsoring StreamYard, newworkwear.com. Yeah, go on, that's it. Well done. And I've got to give this a mention again because I'm extremely proud of it. 33,000 subscribers now, and counting on NUFC Matters since we set this up in March. So a big thank you to everybody who subscribes. I do want to thank John as well from Jab, who who I work with on a regular basis, promoting his brand, where he's been with us from the start. He also designs the flyers. So a big thank you to him. He does that, his way of his sponsorship. And so he's done a new one for Liam. I look quite serious. Liam looks quite happy. I guarantee last week it was the other way around. I was looking happy and Liam had a face like me last week. But we'll be back tomorrow night at 6:00, and all the drama seems to have died down now on social media. So Dave Harrison, your question earlier about is it okay to go back on Twitter? The answer is yes. And as Trull says, hit the like button. Yes, please do. It's free. Just hit the like button. It does help us out massively. Chris McCarthy says, "Evening, Steve. Did Kendall get her Nando's?" Now, it wasn't Kendall. It was Katie, wasn't it? Yeah. So we'll have to wait until next week.
Nando's as well, though. I'll not say no.
Okay, girls. As always, absolute pleasure to have you on and share your views on Newcastle United. Thanks for coming on, and have a good week. I'll let you go off and watch the second half of Leicester Leeds. Take care, girls. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.